whatever the process. In our vision doesn't compromise, that's the beauty. Vision is only related to the inner voice. So basically, step by step, we had to take on the most important aspects of knowledge which were flawed. I'll give you a bit of the philosophical framework, 5 minutes. मुझे पता है कि आप 15 मिनट बैठे हुए, लेकिन फिर भी बहुत ज़रूरी है क्योंकि ये it's not just a project, it's a whole process by which you change the attitude of a country's relationship with knowledge. हमारे जो माँ बाप है, the greatest sacrifice every Indian parent makes is for the education of their children. I don't think there's anything else that they choose in which they decide कि जो भी मुसीबत हमारी जिंदगी में हो, जो भी background हो, जो भी economic status हो, जो भी social position हो, हर माँ बाप पहला sacrifice करता है कि हम अपने बच्चे को अच्छी शिक्षा देंगे और वो शिक्षा के कारण वो आगे बढ़ेंगे और जो हमारी जिंदगी से उससे अच्छा उनकी जिंदगी होगी. And that is the greatest kind of energy which in a way defines India's process of relation with materialism. And if that process fails, if you lose faith in the education system, if you lose faith in the quality of the education, बहुत आसान है बोलना 85% प्राइमरी एनरोलमेंट हो गया है, ये एजुकेशन बीएससी डिग्री मिल गई है, लेकिन हम सबको पता है कि सदियों से चल रहा है. Engineers, people with great degrees working in whatever role of a bus conductor, कोई काम ऐसा छोटा नहीं होता है, लेकिन हर बंदे का expectations होती है और जब expectation से नीचे गिर जाए फिर वो idealism धीरे धीरे टूट जाता है. And once the idealism breaks, your respect for knowledge breaks. If your respect for knowledge breaks, your value system changes. कि success के लिए मुझे ये करना है, ऐसे network बनाना है, ऐसे चीजें करनी है. Education, knowledge, ये तपस्या does not matter. And the moment that happens, the very values of a country starts eroding. So, at the heart of every civilization, especially जहाँ सरस्वती को इतना दर्जा दिया है, सरस्वती और लक्ष्मी एक सोफा पे नहीं बैठते हैं. उनको 5-10 मिनट के अलावा थोड़ी सी खुजली हो जाती है कि हम अलग हो जाएं. सरस्वती सोचती है कि हमारी वैल्यूज ऐसी है, लक्ष्मी चाहती है ये आप कीजिए आगे बढ़ने के लिए. This bridge is a fundamental bridge of building great societies. और ये हमारे सोसाइटी में 4 value systems हैं: the economic, the religious, the cultural, and the ecological. These value systems fight for our sense of identity. कि किस system के values हमारे अंदर ज़्यादा दिशा से आगे बढ़ेंगे. और सबसे कमजोर सिस्टम जो बन गया है is the cultural value system. क्योंकि culture का mindset क्या है? It's for the academia, the intelligentsia, the creative mind. जो बंदा सोचता है कि जिंदगी experimentation के लिए है, जिंदगी is for deep compassion. जो भी चीज दुनिया में है वो हमारा है, हम किसी चीज से ले सकते हैं. We can take inspiration, we can take knowledge, we can take love from every source. There's no reason for the mind to draw a line कि ये हमारे लिए नहीं है, ये हमारे लिए नहीं है, हम खाली इस दिशा में जाएंगे. That's the first compromise जो हम अपनी बुद्धि और मानस के साथ करते हैं. And the cultural values don't dominate. You take all the great universities, academics, scholars, creative minds, artists, philosophers, dancers, musicians, poets. उनका सोच है कि आइडिया हमसे निकलेगा, लेकिन जब वो आइडिया निकल गए हम उसको किसी और को देते हैं डिसेमिनेट करने के लिए. बिजनेस को देते हैं, गवर्नमेंट को देते हैं या फिलैंथ्रोपी को देते हैं. और फिर हम सोचते हैं कि वो आइडिया का आइडियलिज्म क्यों कम हो गया है, क्योंकि आपने दूसरे सिस्टम को दिया है। बिजनेस का वैल्यूज अलग है, गवर्नमेंट के वैल्यूज अलग है, फिलैंथ्रोपिस्ट के भी वैल्यूज अलग है। It's not the values of a creative mind. It's not the values of the life which all of us with our intelligence would like to live. And as a result, why? Because the cultural infrastructure is dependent on other forms of patronage. उनकी जो भी autonomy है, उनकी जो भी financial structures है, वो either dependent on patronage from the government, patronage from sponsorship of the corporate world, या कोई rich person who has decided to give the wealth away after 30 years of creating a system which is against the values of creativity. So we have this conflict, and the greatest new conflict of the last 30 years is the ecological conflict. So my role was dual. मैंने देखा था कि दो चीजें जरूरी है। एक है financial independence for the cultural world, and the second is the knowledge base. वो जो शिक्षा है, वो जो knowledge, उसको अब कैसे बदले? How do we give it a new energy? उसमें हम क्या, कैसा प्यार, कैसी intellectual rigor, aesthetic energy दे कि जो भी उसको पढ़े, जो भी उसके साथ जिंदगी बताना चाहता है, उनमें नई थोड़ी सी joy, सबसे जरूरी चीज जो टूट चुकी है जिंदगी में और लर्निंग और एजुकेशन सिस्टम में is the nature of joy. Learning has to be joyous. It has to have so much love that you want to make it a process of self-discovery. आज के students, आप कहीं भी जाओ, कोई भी यूनिवर्सिटी में जाओ, and remember, I am talking mostly about the arts, humanities, and social sciences. India was very wise in building the IITs. IITs नहीं होते हमारे देश में तो हमारी हालत और भी पतली होती। लेकिन वो IITs के कारण we gave the darza to science, engineering, medicine. So we protected ourselves with that knowledge base. But at the cost of the arts, humanities, and social sciences, which are the most important way to understand life. Engineering, science, and mathematics and medicine solve the problems of life. They do not make you understand the problems. It's a whole different attitude. And if the social sciences and humanities and arts are weak, the relationship between institutions, the relationship between the individual and the institution, the relationship between members of a family, the relationship between communities, all of these become weaker. So it was pivotal that one tries to create an economic freedom, an economic strength for the cultural world. That is why I spent so much time in the art world. Art world को बनाने के लिए, art world पे value डालने के लिए, to respect the value of the art object. ये वो था कि if the art object is respected, artists and all those around that will be respected more, people will put more attention in art, and suddenly you will have a greater synergy. जैसे सिनेमा था, सिनेमा एक ही cultural discipline है जो box office को भी, art को भी, entertainment को भी, glamour को भी, celebrity को भी एक साथ उन्होंने सबको झेलना है. That is why cinema has got the love of the people, because it took on every facet of society's expectations. All other cultural disciplines shied away from this. And as a result, the family of cultural disciplines never worked together. Dance, music, poetry, philosophy, fine arts, literature, cinema, they don't work like one family, supporting and cross-subsidizing each other. Academia, scholarship, all kinds of intellectual energy, media, the world where the mind and the relationship between mind, heart and soul works in a very different energy. So that had to be taken on. So simultaneously दो चीजें हो रही थी 30 साल से. एक था we had to take the economic responsibilities, and second we had to build a knowledge base. And building that knowledge base is very, very difficult. और आज मैं आपके सामने the first phase of this knowledge base दिखा रहा हूँ. 30 साल से हमने किसी ने कल पूछा था मेरे से कि आपने ये चीजें रखी है, जो भी आपके पास आए, जो भी आपके हाथ में आए थे, मैंने उनको जवाब दिया that every piece of paper, every catalog, every book, every artwork, every document that I have touched or seen or has come to my desk or has come to my institutions, we have never thrown it away. We scanned it, we studied it, we documented it, we contextualized it. So that today, the single greatest archive the world has ever seen on modern and contemporary India is able to be made free to the world simply because of that obsessive. As an archive, you do not know what is important. Even if you know the subject inside out, your duty is to maintain that it has a role in society, it has a role in the knowledge base, it has a role in the educational frameworks. And you have to make that clearly accessible to the public, not just as an isolated object, but an object as part of the educational context. It's history, it's basic framework, whether it's the titling, whether it's the personality, whether it's the institution, whether it's the medium, whether it's the size, whether it's a provenance, whether it's a documentation framework, कहाँ से publish हुआ, किसने publish किया, क्यों publish किया, उसका क्या links था. Every facet of that object needs to be contextualized. आज हमारे इंटरनेट में कोई भी किसी का डाल देते हैं, किसी को credit नहीं देते हैं, किसी को not even the basic respect of other people's work. And because of that attitude, it leads to an insecurity in the system. लोग सोचते हैं कि मैंने 30, 40, 25 साल इतनी मेहनत किया, लेकिन मुझे क्या मिला? People don't even give me basic citations. And that academic process has in many ways tried its best. It's not come up to scratch, but obviously the lay public doesn't have these protocols. So we are trying in our small way to create that ethos, to create that mindset. So what we are about to share is in 3 phases. Pehla phase kal shuru hota hai. Today we announce it. Till 30th June, we will open the search engine and we will open. So for example, let's take Amitabh Bachchan. Amitabh Bachchan ka ye a graphing page hai. Amitabh Bachchan is like a master list. Or master list se pehle, all master lists are placed within this world of my 16 research categories. So the whole knowledge base. And remember, the knowledge base jo hum present kar rahe hain is for the first understanding of India studies. Puri duniya mein, there are about 21,000 universities and colleges. आप समझ लो ये बहुत ही अजीब बात है. 21,000 plus colleges and universities in the world, and not one 3-year undergraduate course on modern and contemporary India studies. Not one. That is, let's say, everything after 1850s. और इंडिया ऐसा देश है जो भी 1850s के बाद है, that includes the first 6,000 years. Because we are still a country where thousands of our traditions are still alive. So we are not detached. Our cultural traditions are still living. Even though they are damaged, even though they may be under attack, many pieces across the country still have that living form. So even if you focus on the last 150, 180 years of India, you will capture the previous 5,000 years. but the attitude change is necessary. Indology has been such a strong part of our intellectual framework, and therefore the ancient and the medieval seems to be the source of all our knowledge even today. For defining India, for understanding who is she, what's our relationship. So you imagine, who are the experts in the world? If there's no one who has ever dedicated even 3 years of their life to understanding the last 200 years of India in a systematic way, that is the scale of the problem in which, therefore, the sense of what is Indian, what is an Indian identity, what are the Indian values, how can I know what I believe in, why am I believing it, where are the traditions and the actual objects and the actual practitioners for me to have a relationship with. And therefore, when that is not available to every member of the public, you can make anything up for the nature of who we are. You can take it on any direction. The loudest voice will become the most legitimate voice. And as a result, you have, हम सब में अंदर से वो हलचल होती है कि is this like this? Is it supposed to be like this? So knowledge is the only way, with love, with total respect for everything that this world creates. Knowledge is the only thing that can tackle this over time, systematically. So there are 16 major research categories which define India studies. And the first two, which are the core, and the first four, most important, is cinema as an educational resource, as a critical educational resource. Cinema has been this great entertainer, as I said. She's been a great art form. She's a source of glamour, celebrity, excitement. Now is the time to make her the source of great education. Whatever subject you are studying, whether you are studying history, economics, political science, any kind of arts, humanities, if you don't go to cinema, so if you don't go to the pages of cinema, you don't listen to the greatest filmmakers, you don't see what they are all about, you are not getting the essence of what India is. So let's say, I showed you before, I just went there briefly, Amitabh Bachchan's place. So the master list is rooted in the research category. Master list का मतलब क्या हुआ? You have your introduction, जैसे आप Wikipedia में देखते होंगे, and then you have a research center. In 5 seconds, every object, every book, every journal, every document in the life and times of Amitabh Bachchan is available to you now free for the first time. You can click on it, you can go into that, whatever object you want to click on, and suddenly it is interlinked across, in this case, Reshma Sera, one of his first movie, but it was released later, and suddenly if I want to link it to, let's say, Sunil Dutt, 5 seconds में आपको सुनील दत्त की जिंदगी बिल्कुल एक आपके सामने में तैयार है. And this is just basement. मैं आपको पहले basement और ground floor दिखा दूँ. So, for the first time, the objects, remember this site, this knowledge base is built on objects, so that ideology comes second. Whatever ideas, interpretation, insight you want to derive, you derive it from the object. Therefore, there's an inherent objectivity in the nature of the knowledge base. So, this is the first step. Now, let's assume you want to go, let me take something else. Let's take the world of art. K.G. Subramaniam, one of our great artists, thinkers, teachers, ye unka page hai. Now, along with the research center page, you have something called the integrated timeline. Integrated timeline वो चीज़ है जो हर साल क्या-क्या हुआ उस व्यक्ति, institution, landmark, immediately for the first time is available to you on a scale which no one's ever made this scale of content freely available. And this is the highest content which the greatest universities in the world do not even have access to. This is not something just for the आम जनता. It's for the scholar as much as the आम जनता. हर बंदा वही लेगा जो उनकी जिंदगी के लिए अच्छा है. They may decide to take the music. They may decide to take some other facet. Our job is to create such a vast framework that जो भी बंदा आए उसको कुछ ना कुछ मिले कि वो इस जिंदगी को आगे बढ़ा सकते हैं. So the integrated timeline, then we have the body of work. Every exhibition, every catalogue, ever in the history of Indian modern art, for the first time will be available to everyone. The biggest problem facing the art world was this holding of knowledge. किसी को पता नहीं है कि क्या हो रहा है. That's why it's part of a small elitist world. People did not understand the scale of the knowledge base. They didn't understand the nature of pricing. So for example, before I jump again, economics में ले लो. For the first time, you will get every object ever sold since the start of public auctions in the world for Indian art absolutely freely available to you. India will be the first country in the world that will have the full database of the history of transactions in public auction. So now for the first time, which I started 30 years ago making art, this knowledge base is there, you can start comparing the relationship between art and property, art and the stock exchange, art and any other object, any other commodity. You have all the data, everything's verified, everything is publicly accountable, and for the first time, the comparison by bankers, income tax officers, any kind of investor, any kind of analyst is possible, open, freely, with public access. Even Europe and America never allowed this freedom. They kept the knowledge to themselves, or they sold it in certain sites for $100 a day, which therefore only gave that community access. It didn't give access to everyone to take it to task, to do the due diligence by which you recognize, what is this? Kaise chal raha hai? Why are we spending 118 crores on one painting of Hussein? Ye kya ho gaya hai? So that kind of history is now available to you from the day the first transactions in public started in India, which was 1987 and 1989. So that is one major byproduct of this knowledge base. There are many other facets that I can start sharing with you. Let's do the search. The most important thing is let's say Lucknow हमने search किया. दिख रहा है Lucknow है ये? So if we go to Lucknow, for example, so like any other personality, institution, film, you have access now, let's say, to every document. It's in document type. So first you get the first photographs of Lucknow that were ever taken just after the rebellion and mutiny in 1857. Then you will get a whole host of other things that come up systematically that define Lucknow. Now the most important feature, समझो शतरंज के खिलाड़ी. So let's say I go to शतरंज के खिलाड़ी's page, okay, and चल मेरे भाई, and let's say we go to the page. Now each film, remember, this is not a knowledge base just on Indian cinema. It's the world's largest knowledge base on world cinema. After this, we started with Hollywood, but Aditi, who do you want me to shame on this one? Aditi, Robin, Prabjot? पता था कुछ ना कुछ तो होगा. Anyway, don't worry, there are 100 mistakes, Babu. When you put millions of documents, कहीं ना कहीं कुछ तो होगा ही होगा. But again, if you see for each film, शतरंज के खिलाड़ी, this is what we would call the editorial page. So remember, I forgot one very important point in the whole build-up, I apologize. That the nature of knowledge, what's the fundamental problem? The fundamental problem is the power of the written word, the power of the text has dominated our understanding of knowledge. We do not recognize that in the visual is as great our ability to derive knowledge, to disseminate knowledge, and most important, it has a different joy. And that is the joy which is missing in our systems today. So the paramount process by which this knowledge base is built is for the first time to make both visual and text equal partners in the knowledge-driven processes. So every page, there will never be a page just with text. There will always be its counterpart visual, and that visual allows the mind and the eye to think on many other levels which the written word today is incapable of inspiring the young mind towards. So here, for example, the Shatranj Ke Khiladi page, we decided that 35 images in order will define आज कोई 3 घंटे मूवी शायद ना देख सकते, लेकिन 35 visuals in sequence systematically captioned. For example, I'm just going, so here you can see each image systematically captioned, and you have a world suddenly 10 minute में आपको शतरंज के खिलाड़ी का पूरा process नजर आएगा. And that kind of energy, one is these are, let's say, the film stills. Suddenly we jump and you will get a lovely surprise that from film stills, आने दो, धीरे से आएगा, आ जाएगा, मैं भी कभी भूल जाता हूँ कि क्या क्या ये अब आएगा इसके बाद. I hope. Working stills. So how Satyajit Ray was working with each scene of the movie, and suddenly you have a different way of looking at the way a film is made. And this kind of clarity, this kind of data knowledge base where the visual dominates the text and yet complements it and creates that coherent, holistic understanding is something which is it's taken me years with my team to create this kind of framework, and it's not easy, and we've done it for a few, but over the next few weeks, months, you will see the radical transformation of that. So a film has its introduction, English mein, Hindi mein uska preface, one sample of the great artworks that make up all different types, from booklets to photographs, to posters, to costumes, etc. So this is one way of looking at the film. So when you go deep into this knowledge base, you will get a sense of India on a very different level. For example, I'll give another way of looking at this. Aap samjho Art Heritage Journal. It's one of the top journals and annuals that used to come out. Al-Qazi used to publish this as part of his Art Heritage thing. And let's take the body of work. So each journal, and remember, you click on it, each exhibition, we will give you the catalog, you can click on it, and you can see everything in that catalog. I thought Dhanraj Bhagat would be available here, but I don't know what happens. Ye kuch na ho to, please don't, it's not clickable. But it will be in a few weeks. But the whole point of this framework, and please understand the other crazy part of this journey, ye sab kuch humne the most basic technology par banaya hai. No artificial intelligence at all. This is actually an example of a total counter voice to the power of artificial intelligence, to show that in this human buddhi, we all are still capable of the greatest innovation, the greatest empathy, a vision which no artificial intelligence is capable of. This has been built on Excel sheet, hundreds and hundreds of Excel sheets. And as a result of that, what happens is you can get perfect search, because in each cell of each Excel sheet is just one piece of information. And therefore, whatever you are searching, I'll show you that in a second. Let's do a search on open cut. So we are in Bhupin Khadkar's page. Let's go to his research center. Now in Bhupin Khadkar's, this is all the objects. Now let's say you are looking for the search and filter facility is the key. So whatever, let's say you are looking for, you know the year, and you want to particularly, let's say these years. So within 2 seconds, you only get those answers that you are looking for. And then you can obviously go into each and you can link it. Now remember the links. So from here, the links is, let's say we go to the economics of art. So this is the economics of art page. So step by step, this website is going to be shared with you. As I said, version 1, which you are getting tomorrow, is where the search engine and the filter is based on a research category, 16 research categories. We give you the sample master list, Amitabh Bachchan, Satyajit Ray, K.G. Subramaniam, Lucknow, these are master lists. And we upload for the first time about 100,000 plus objects. So between the relationship of the research category, the master list and the object, you start the relationship. By the end of phase 2, 1.2, you'll have more than 15 million relationships between objects, personalities, institutions, to create the next stage where we then bring in the concept of the post. The post becomes the messenger. So we post every 6 hours, so that, because this is like an iceberg. आपको पता नहीं है कि इसके नीचे क्या है unless you search for it or you see it on the explore page. So we have to, in the first 3 months, open up all the pages for you, and thereafter we start customizing your personal world. So all of you can choose जो आपकी दिलचस्पी, जो आपका how you want to understand India. You can choose which research category. जैसे मैं दिखा रहा था लेकिन मेरा मन बाहर चला गया. So first research category was cinema as a critical educational resource. Second is modern and contemporary fine arts. Third is photography in India. Fourth is the nature of the popular arts and crafts. Fifth is the architectural heritage of India. Sixth is the economics of art and culture. Seventh is the nature and history of the automobile, transport and travel. Eight is the nature of uncertainty through the genre of horror, sci-fi, magic and gambling. 9 is the social responsibility of the creative mind. 10 is the changing smile of childhood and its second coming. 11 is the sensual discipline inherent in creativity. 12 is the history and historiography of scholarship in the arts, humanities and social sciences. 13 is seeking justice and political integrity. 14 is India's relationship with the rest of the world. 15 is the relationship between religion, spirituality, poetry and philosophy. And 16, what brings the whole thing together, is the relationship between animals, humans and nature. These 16 research categories define India studies. All the master lists इनके 16 categories के अंदर बसे हुए हैं. And when you get into these worlds, you will be able to choose कि मैंने सिनेमा को फोकस करना है, फोटोग्राफी पे फोकस करना है और सोशल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी पे फोकस करना है. फिर आपके मास्टर लिस्ट आएंगे. सिनेमा में आ सकता है सत्यजीत रे, अदू गोपाल कृष्णन, राज कपूर, अमिताभ बच्चन, रेखा, etc. etc. and so on. You choose. आप चुनो जो आपका फोकस है. And then we bring thousands of questions for you to get points. As you get points, we give you more content. Remember, everything is free. It will always be free. It will never have one advertisement even on it, even if I become bankrupt again. The fact of the matter is that education has to be more and more seen as a basic right, not just at the basic level, but at the highest level. Information is roughly free today via Google and Wikipedia. But true knowledge, contextualized, fully captioned, fully integrated, and having an offline-online relationship with the individual, with full engagement, that's a whole different ball game which hopefully we will be able to build and sustain in the coming few months, weeks and months. बहुत बोल दिया मैंने. Thank you. Any questions?
Sir,
हाँ जी.
मैं उमेंद्र दारीच हूँ राजस्थान
जी.
से. Myself उमेंद्र दारीच. Hello.
Leadership, just come on, you guys, get the mic switched on.
Myself, yes. Myself उमेंद्र दारीच. दिव्य राष्ट्र न्यूज़पेपर पब्लिश फ्रॉम जयपुर. आपने बहुत मेहनत के साथ में जो 16 स्टडीज की है, इसमें किस किस प्रकार के लोगों का सहयोग रहा, पहली चीज की है. सेकंड, मैं ये जानना चाहूँगा कि आपने कहा कि यदि देश में आईआईटी नहीं होते तो हमारी शिक्षा का स्तर बहुत डाउन हो जाता.
जब मैं सुना नहीं ठीक से आपका लास्ट सेंटेंस.
आपने अभी कहा था कि देश में यदि आईआईटी ये नहीं होते तो हमारी शिक्षा का स्तर और भी जरा डाउन हो जाता. जबकि भारत तो हमेशा से विश्व गुरु रहा है, तो हम कैसे कह सकते हैं कि हमारी शिक्षा का स्तर बहुत डाउन हो जाता. और आपने जो ये प्रयास किए हैं ये बिल्कुल सफल हो, इसके लिए आपकी फॉर फ्यूचर की क्या प्लानिंग है और किस प्रकार से ये सफल हो, इसके लिए क्या करने जा रहे हैं.
आपका पहला सवाल जो है, this is a knowledge base that has come from one mind. This is my mind. This is my life's understanding of India. I've started with that. In the next few weeks and months, many people will use this knowledge base and give their concept of India studies. So, me with my team, and my team is a young team. Only a handful of people have stood by for the last 20-25 years, 4-5 people. And then there are others around those 4-5. तो टीम बनता जाता है. सफलता और फेलियर में मैं सच्ची में ज़्यादा ध्यान नहीं रखता हूँ, to be brutally honest. My greatest days have been in my greatest humiliation and failures. So I have learned that it really doesn't matter. We try our best. हम देखेंगे. Even if we fail, others will be able to succeed using this. Because this is not about, my job was to take it to this point. I have fulfilled my promise to myself. I made a promise to myself 30 years ago that I want to make sure that the finest knowledge base on arts, humanities and social sciences is given to our people free. कोई कुछ नहीं बोल सकता है कि मैंने इसकी फेवर लेना है, कि मेरे पास पैसा नहीं था, मैं यहाँ से आया हूँ, ये सब बंद. So that was up to where I have done. Now what we will do, we will see. We'll do our best. But I hope that others who are much more committed in special areas will take it forward. The objective is कि हर पन्ना जो आपने देखा है, कहीं ना कोई दुनिया में है who is dedicated to that person, that institution, that idea, that framework. कोई ना कोई पागल होगा who is dedicated to the life and times of Amitabh Bachchan. वो भाई बैठा है, just by chance. Okay, but there must be others in different ways that will take it forward. So in that sense, the collaboration will begin because we've got the systems. अब कोई उसको manipulate नहीं कर सकता. They cannot put any nonsense to play with the history of the subject and the intellectual standards and the aesthetic framework. So I think that will happen. और विश्व हम बोल सकते हैं we are the center of the world, लेकिन बोलने की बातें और हकीकत की बातें अब बनेगा. सदियों से हम कोशिश कर रहे हैं, हजारों लोग ने कितना कोशिश किया है, तो we are part of that journey. Any other questions?
Here I have.
Yes.
My name is Sanjay. So I just wanted to ask, whatever content is available, and when you're talking about say Amitabh Bachchan, suppose I want to see something in the newspaper, the Times of India, Delhi, Bombay. So how's that?
So for example, let me give you the way we function. I'm not sure it will be there, but if you see at the beginning of the exhibition, is it U or with S?
It's
S?
NEW.
मैंने क्या लिखा है?
New, book new.
NEW now. लिखा है ना? So, for example, let's take here. In Amitabh Bachchan's case, we have uploaded a certain amount that we want. You will have thousands. Devi Mataji अपने हाथ से document करती थी the date. Thousands of cuttings we would make and keep them, and then when she was free, she would say, "Beta, मैं कुछ कर सकती हूँ," and she would do that. So you will see thousands of cuttings from 1930s. Even the 1920s we have, but the large chunk is obviously post-independence. So you will get enough just to study through the history of journalism. Any other questions?
My just second one was, it's very nice, very noble cause that you made it free for accessibility, right? Now if anybody, a student or a researcher or anybody from theatre, he wants to use these images, so does he have to give credit or what is the way
Of
out?
course you have to give credit.
Yes.
Everyone has to give credit.
So what is the way out? Means can they just take the image and then put it?
So there's two steps to this process. First of all, images to be used for commercial purposes and for research purposes have to be separated. In the next 3-6 months, we will be tying up with many universities and colleges around the country and providing them this service. If they are charging their students, then there will be a royalty. If they are giving it free to their students, it will be free. So that process is after version 2, which is on 30th September.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Anyone? Hanji.
नमस्कार सर, मैं रवि शंकर हूँ आज तक से। मेरा सवाल है, जो भी कंटेंट अंग्रेजी में है, क्या भविष्य में जो है ये कंटेंट भारतीय भाषाओं में आएगा क्या?
अन्य भारतीय भाषाओं में भी ये कंटेंट रहेंगे
So
क्या?
Hindi में we are trying virtually everything. दूसरी भाषा, the translations are not up to scratch and we don't have the in-house team to do the due diligence. But Hindi, we will definitely be trying to have everything ready by 1.2. Any other questions? Anyone?
Sir, digitizing the content to this level, this is massive. Like encyclopedic is, thank you. That's a very small term for this kind of work that you've done, and my congratulations
Yeah, my
to
team.
you and your team. This will be very helpful to everyone. I mean, as you said, Aam Janta se leke research scholar. When did you first conceptualize this and start building on digitizing the content for online purposes? How long has it taken?
See, मैं वापस जब आया 1994 में, तब मेरा ख्यालात education के लिए was a slightly old-fashioned Oxford, Cambridge kind of framework. That great physical university had to be built for the arts. It was only by when I started facing my first failures round about 2009, 2010, कि आदमी फिर से सोचता है कि हमने हर चीज़ सही से सोची, ठीक तरह से सोचा, and therefore मुझे हमेशा इंटरनेट से डिस्टेंस था, क्योंकि I did not like the concept of an artwork being made into a thumbnail. I thought that if you make an artwork into a thumbnail, the aesthetic power, the inspirational power of an artwork will be lost. By that time, मैं अभी तक बाप नहीं बना था. Only जब बाप बनने के बाद आपको पता चलता है कि आजकल when you see a child grow from day one, you recognize the energy of the moving light image. It's not a bad thing. You know, mother is always trying to stop the child go onto computer or iPad or iPhone. But you can see there is a natural instinct in the mind to go towards the digital imagery. And I only started appreciating that round about 2016, 2017. I thought about it from 2011, 2012. And then when I came back, I left Bombay, I came to Delhi in 2014. And because I set up, maybe thoda sa feeling a bit rethinking life. So I opened a sanctuary for abandoned dogs and cats, and through understanding their nature and their attitude to playfulness, I realized certain things about certain rules are not necessary. The way the mind imbibes certain things, you know, आप कोई भी dog or cat के साथ रिश्ता हो आपका, you will, and none of you have probably thought of it like this, but every dog and cat has a beautiful understanding of time and space. आपकी ज़रूरत नहीं है उनको वक्त बताने के, और आपकी ज़रूरत नहीं है उनको बताने की आपकी लकीर लक्ष्मण रेखा कहाँ तक है. That concept is also very much in the way the mind focuses. Anyway, so that was the answer. Otherwise, I'll go into tangents. और कोई सवाल? हाँ जी.
सर, मेरा सवाल ये है कि आपको ये अलग से नया सृजन करने की प्रेरणा क्यों मिली और आपका मेन उद्देश्य इसका क्या है? 10 में साइट्स हैं आपके, गूगल है, इंसाइक्लोपीडिया, 10 में आपके विकिपीडिया है. ऐसा क्या उद्देश्य था कि जो आपको इससे लेके आना पड़ा और उसके पीछे आपका मेन मोटो क्या था?
देखिए, जो आपको इंटरनेट में मिल रहा है, that is information. That is not at all knowledge. It's the base on which you build knowledge. There's no great engagement. See, what is the biggest problem of a search engine? It is making the human being dependent on someone, machine, for memory. The biggest problem the young generation is facing is they are losing their memory because they are not exercising the muscles in the brain which used to collect data, store data, and then retrieve data. They are leased that out to the machine. So that is why the human being is unable to come up with the creativity and the innovation, because all innovation, creativity is built on memory. Memory के ऊपर सब ideas खिलते हैं. If you don't have that memory, then you are relying on other ways of generating knowledge. And that is taking us further away from the biological to the digital as human beings. And as a result, our relationship with each other is changing. हमारे पास वो energy नहीं है, time नहीं है कि दूसरे की ego, दूसरे के selfishness को संभाले. We all want to go on the net, अकेले करो, जो भी करना है. And that is leading to radical problems between people, communities, nations, and the very manner by which we have built civilization. Now, some of us may say, जाने दो, if the digital is more advanced, let the digital take over. ठीक है. But the point is, I'm an old-fashioned man, and I will fight for certain things which I think have to be institutionalized.
Thank you, sir.